New Mexico's oil boom in the Permian Basin is altering life for many in the southeast corner of the state, with people flocking to the area for jobs. Infrastructure like roads, as well as schools and housing, are struggling to keep pace. The boom is also filling state government coffers as we head into the legislative session later this month. Correspondent Megan Kamerick talks with journalist Jen Gould of the Santa Fe New Mexican and Dan McKay of the Albuquerque Journal about what this means for the state's future.
Dan, I wanted to ask you, what are some of the most significant ways this boom is reshaping life for those in and around the Permian Basin?
Well, it brought an influx of people from all over the world. You've got teachers from the Philippines, you've got immigrants working in the oil fields, people from Texas, people from all over have moved to southeast New Mexico, and they're working in the oil fields.
And what does that mean in terms of traffic and housing? And clearly the schools are bursting, and they had to get teachers from overseas to come in and take care of that.
Yeah, you can measure the traffic backups in miles.
Wow.
The roads are just completely overwhelmed in many cases with trucks and school buses, and there's just a tremendous amount of activity, and it really is something to see. And it's hard, I think, for a lot of us who spend a lot of time in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. It's hard for us to wrap our head around how much is happening in Carlsbad and Hobbs and these smaller towns in southeast New Mexico.
Jen Gould, I mean, one thing it's doing is like salaries are way up, even for people working in Walmart and fast food.
Yeah, a lot of the fast food restaurants, as you're driving through Artesia and down into Carlsbad, have on their marquee signs now hiring on the spot. One of them even said. Some of them said they were hiring at $14 an hour, even $18. The reason is the oil fields are paying so much, and a lot of the locals are working in the oil fields, that makes it very difficult for local businesses to. I mean, it's two-pronged, right? On the one hand, it's there's a huge upside for locals who now have more purchasing power, they have more opportunities. But on the other hand, small businesses are having a lot of trouble hiring. And I agree with Dan. I mean, it's really something you have to see. You spend one day there, and you just see the massive amount of activity. It's buzzing.
There's a serious crunch on housing.
Also crunch on housing, and that's why you see this proliferation of RV parks and man camps.
Man camps.
Man camps, yes.
What does that
They don't
mean?
like that term, though.
Oh, okay.
They don't like it.
But what is that?
Temporary lodging facilities, I think they prefer.
Okay.
But a man camp is basically a large plot of land where there are these tracked mobile housing units, and it's for temporary workers, mostly in the oil fields, to stay, because they don't come with their families by and large. They tend to be there for several months at a time and then move on to another place. Part of that is because of how the industry works, but part of it is because there just isn't enough housing for them in the area. And a lot of these RV parks, too, they'll just sprout up unlicensed, unpermitted all over the area.
And do you have a sense, Dan, when you're there, like all this must be all this new revenue flowing in as well for, hopefully, to build more roads, to build more housing, more police?
Yes, certainly the oil boom is transforming New Mexico in general because it's providing so much revenue for state government. It's allowing for increased teacher salaries, increased investments in education. The state is using cash to pay for capital projects without even having to borrow in some cases. And then for the local governments, in Hobbs, they built this really nice recreational facility with this 40-foot water slide in the middle of it. And it's not like anything else you can find in New Mexico, but it is thanks partly to all this revenue. But again, the people are coming in so fast that there's a strain on services. It takes some time to build, to improve the roads and build housing and all this stuff. So it really is a fascinating area. And then obviously both the state and the local governments are also struggling with, how much of this revenue can we count on to sustain over time, and how much of it is just a big infusion now that we need to spend only on one-time projects. It really is an important story in New Mexico right now.
And Jen, some of the governments and they're a little resentful that more of this revenue isn't staying.
There's a tension, and I think
Yeah.
it's a long-standing tension that in the southeast part of the state, they've felt that way for a long time, that, look, we generate all this oil and gas revenue, you up there in Santa Fe and Albuquerque don't.
But you're spending it.
You're spending it, but but you're not giving enough back. Right?
What do they want back?
Well, they do get back their percentage of GRT, for example, but
Gross receipts tax.
right. But they want more. They say, we should get more of the severance taxes from oil production, for example. They want their roads to be fixed faster, and
Yeah, because the roads are getting a lot of traffic.
roads are out of shape. I mean, the county roads are really chewed up because they're basically ranch roads. But then even the state roads like 285, and they have these little 2-lane highways with these massive trucks whizzing by. And those roads just weren't built for that. So they feel like they're not getting help from the state fast enough. On the state side, they say, well, we just approved way more spending for that area of the state than ever before, which is true. I think it's around $200 million over a 2-year period for roads in just that corner of the state. So that is being allocated, but it's taking time. So that, for example, the 285 upgrade project hasn't started yet. So it's a slow process.
And Dan, one of the stories that you did focused on Northwest New Mexico, which was interesting that, this energy boom has not universally benefited everyone. Northwest New Mexico is struggling. Why?
Yeah, so New Mexico is a very energy-dependent state, and the picture in Northwest New Mexico is much different from Southeast New Mexico.
Even though it's got big gas fields.
Right. So Farmington and the Four Corners area is much more reliant on natural gas, and natural gas prices are really low. Natural gas is also produced by the oil boom in the southeast part of the state, so the market there's more supply. And meanwhile, the state is trying to move towards renewable energy sources like wind and solar in a lot of cases, and coal is in decline. There are multiple coal plants in the Four Corners areas, and those are, in some cases, they're being shut down or have already stopped commercial production. So it's a much different picture up there, and it's kind of the opposite end of the boom and bust cycle, because they have been experiencing the boom. They had experienced a boom at points. And now they feel like, well, hey, we don't want to be forgotten. We provided a bunch of revenue for the state at one point, and now, we need help.
Did you get a sense, or is there any way of tracking if people are leaving that area and moving down to the Permian Basin?
It's hard to say. They definitely are seeing a population erosion down there, or up there, as opposed to the southeast. Whether people have moved specifically, I don't know. As Jen's pointed out, a lot of the southeast workforce is migratory, basically. These are oil field workers who, live out of their RV and they move from place to place. It's really difficult to tell someone who's spent their career at a coal plant, oh, well, we got plenty of energy work, but now you need to go work in an oil field. I mean, it's kind of a whole different thing. And it's, there's definitely some resentment about, the human cost of these changes.
Are there efforts thought in place or coming up to help people to ameliorate some of this impact?
Yes, the Energy Transition Act, a kind of a landmark energy law that was just passed by the legislature, does include money for workforce training and things like that. So yes, that is a possibility. There's also some private interests in perhaps retrofitting some of the coal plants to reduce pollution. So yes, there certainly are some hopes that that things will get back on track up there.
Jens, you wrote that Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham has made a point of saying she wants to work with industry. At the same time, as Dan said, there are major environmental impacts from the oil boom, and she signed the Energy Transition Act to move the state off fossil fuels. So how is she balancing these goals?
It's a tight line to walk. And just as you say, not only the ETA, but also the methane regulations, which are being worked on right now, I think are something that will have an impact on that relationship. But so far, she seems to be walking that line. I mean, she was made some very friendly comments towards the industry at a conference a couple months back that environmentalists thought were, going way too far, but that the industry liked very much. And I can understand politically why one might want to walk that line. We have unprecedented oil revenue that the state's never seen. You can't come out. I mean, she needs to be friendly to the industry bringing that, right? So I guess it remains to be seen how that relationship unfolds as her term goes on.
Well, she's very ambitious plans in terms of free college tuition, raising salaries for state workers and teachers. As Dan just explained, there's booms and busts all the time in this industry. So is it wise to plan for expanding programs if we don't know how long this will be around?
Well, they're making a point. So this is going to be the second straight year of major increase in the budget. The governor's asking for more than 8% increase in the budget, and that'll be fleshed out in the session that's about to start. They've made it a point of saying we want to target 25% reserves. Mm-hmm. They're saying, if there were a downturn in the economy or in oil prices, that would allow us to be okay for 2 years, putting that amount aside. The legislators have obviously made a huge effort to not tap more things like the Land Grant Permanent Fund. There's going to be a lot of debate around this over the next month. Even though there's this huge influx of revenue, there's also a lot of pent-up demand from all the years that were so lean, and also there's, I think more of a sense of entitlement. Now everybody wants some. So that's going to have to be hammered out now in the next month.
Which is coming up in the budget session. Dan, as we wrap up, we talk incessantly, as you know, about the need to diversify New Mexico's economy. Will this financial windfall from oil and gas help those efforts or delay them?
Well, I don't think that's clear at this point. It certainly is almost a unique opportunity to make an investment that helps change the trajectory of the state. This revenue growth really is coming from the southeast part of the state rather than sort of a broader economic rebound. But New Mexico is expanding its tax incentives for the film industry. The state is trying to invest in education, both pre-K, K through 12, and higher education. And of course, an educated workforce is kind of a backbone of a strong economy. So we'll have to see.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's obviously something we'll keep watching, especially as the session comes up. Thank you, Jens Gould, Dan McKay, for coming and talking about your reporting on this.
Thanks for having us.